Welcome back to the Ridge Motorsports Park for Superbikes at the Ridge. It is the 10th anniversary season of the MotoAmerica Championship, and we have a beautiful afternoon on hand. The temperature is just about perfect, Roger. We've already had practice this morning for Steel Commander Superbikes. You can see Cameron Beaubier. He's back out here this weekend as he's making his first race back after injury that he suffered back at MotoAmerica, and he was really impressive in practice this morning. We'll get into that just a little bit later, but let's go ahead and take a look back at the highlights from Brainerd, Roger.
Yeah, and you know, the thing to watch on the highlights is we see Bobby Fong there on pole position there on the ADR. Aussie Dave Racing Wrench bike there, and Cam Peterson, great start as well. And Lourdes Baz with a really good start. You see Josh Herron really aggressive there early on his teammate. You can see kind of early on the field gets separated. Sean Dillon Kelly, huge high side there in turn 3. Glad to see him up and okay. But Josh Herron there going fast. They're able to get Cam Peterson, but it was all about Bobby Fong does the double, pretty much swept the whole weekend, and now as we see the points come up, what that did for him, and Josh Herron there and Cam Peterson there on the podium.
That victory in that second race, Bobby was able to win by almost 4 seconds, and he took over the point lead, 138 points. He's been able to accumulate. Jake Gagne now sitting in second, 8 points back, and then Josh Herron just consistently being able to get on the podium. He's sitting in third.
Yeah, consistently there every weekend, and right there in that podium battle. And Cam Peterson there fourth, Lourdes Baz fifth. Sean Dillon Kelly had that crash, lost quite a few points, but Cam Beaubier to set out a round and still, I mean, actually he set out 2 rounds. You know, the crash at day 1 at MotoAmerica, not racing the next day, missed 4 races essentially, last 4 races, and only 42 points out. So he still can get himself in that fight as the season goes on.
We had Cameron Beaubier join us this morning as on our preview show as we looked ahead to the storylines this weekend. And one of the things that he talked about was just the recovery, and he mentioned the points and the way everything shook out at Brainerd. And one of the things that he said was, I just have to get back out there. Whatever he can salvage in this championship, he wants to win another one so badly. But Bobby Fong, you see there on the number 50 from Ridge Motorcycles, he's been on fire every time he comes out the last couple of weeks. He's not only up to speed quickly, but he's able to also be right there in the fight. And
just consistent, and not only winning both races, but you know, even the previous races, pole position, podiums, as the year has gone on. And I think for Bobby and that team, they should just get stronger. I think I listened to Bobby's interview going into the weekend, and sounded really grounded, and knowing that, you know, they're not going to have every weekend like Brainerd, you know, but when those podiums come, you got to take it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Roger. We're looking at the number 50, Bobby Fong. He had a small electronics issue this morning. He was having a small issue with the traction control. Didn't slow him down too much. He was still very much at the sharp end. But how good is it to see, Jamie and Roger, a team like this, in essence a privateer team that over the last 2 or 3 years have plied their trade, they've served their apprenticeship, they've stuck faithful to Bobby Fong, who we know what a talented rider he is, and now all those pieces of the jigsaw are coming together. And this team is the lead Yamaha team, not just leading overall, but the top Yamaha team ahead of Attack Performance, Roger, and that is a massive coup for this team.
It really is. And you know, I've been on you know, even though you're on a satellite team, you always want to beat the factory team. I remember when I was racing with Michael Jordan, we were a satellite Suzuki team, and we loved it when we beat the Yoshimura guys and be the first Suzuki that weekend. So you know, just another thing to put in your back pocket.
And for Bobby Fong, he had that traction control issue that Michael mentioned. In this morning's session, he was, you know, working through all of that. But they do have a new engine in that bike, and I understand that they didn't have the opportunity to get it on the dyno. So this morning's practice was really a pure practice session for that organization, as we are now in qualifying trim. I expect to see Bobby right back up to speed, but as you see all of the bikes that are out there on the racetrack, Josh Herron is sitting on pit lane looking calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah, not sure. You know, I guess we see a camera. Has to be something going on with the bike, but you know, Josh coming into this track was really fast here last year. Bike looks ready to go, so not sure what's going on, but Josh last year was so fast till he had that crash in that qualifier on Saturday morning. So we'll see what's going on and see if he can get back out there.
Motorsports. The team works to get him out on the racetrack. His teammate, Loris Baz, is out on the racetrack. And if you are joining us on YouTube, just a reminder that the only place you're going to be able to see all of the action live in its entirety to the end of this championship season will be on MotoAmerica Live Plus. So make sure you go ahead and create your account and get logged in, and you can get even more behind the scenes content than what you're getting right here on YouTube and on all of the social channels. There's a lot of exclusive content on MotoAmerica Live Plus, and it certainly is with it as we are getting into the second half of this championship season. And for Loris Baz, he's been impressive making his return back to Superbikes and getting acclimated with the Ducati and with the organization and relearning the Dunlop tires, but he's proven how good of a rider he is, Roger.
Yeah, and it looks like also the last couple weekends he's really starting to move, get himself closer to the front guys there in that podium battle. And first couple races, just trying to kind of get his feet wet, and he's been consistent and talked about the experience that he has. And with that experience, I think he didn't really force it early on into the year and make those mistakes, and he's got himself with a chance at the title. And right when he's riding his best, you go back to Brainerd, he was in podium battles and on the podium, so things are looking up for Loris.
Take a listen to Loris. As you can hear, just the acceleration to the braking to the acceleration. You talk about, Roger, how physical it is and technical it is for the riders, but you listen to what the bikes are able to do.
And just the electronics as well. You know, that's what's so important now is electronics, not only off the corner, but also on the brakes as well. And when you hear the bike, you can just hear those electronics working. We see Loris now went to the top, but now Bobby Fong is back top of the board, man. When things are going good and you're riding great like Bobby is right now, that's great. But also you see Ken Bobier as well. So we talk about this class being stacked. It seems like every lap that board just looks totally different.
Well, it's about to change again. As you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see Jake Gagne is on a lap right now. As you see Jake on the screen, and it looks like he's in a spot to be able to move himself back up. And watching all of this is Josh Herrin, who we know continues to sit on pit lane. Jake Gagne, a 140.8 for Jake, moving himself up into provisional pole. Michael?
Yeah, great lap that from Jake Gagne, who is still suffering a little bit with arm pump. One rider who is not is this guy here, just literally a couple of feet from me. He's just put the helmet on. I spoke to Simone, his crew chief, said, is there a problem? And the answer very, very calmly was no, not at all. And Josh Herrin gave us a little wry smile and just give us a little wink and was like, no, we're just watching what Loris did. Of course, last year, Josh Herrin didn't have the fondest of memories of this place. I'm sure that's not going to be in his mind right now, but here's a look back, ladies and gents, at what happened to Josh Herrin last year. Lost the front, a monster crash last year, and of course he was able to pick himself up, dust himself down, and fingers crossed he doesn't have a repeat of that. But he is looking as calm and as collected as I have seen Josh Herrin, and when a relaxed Josh Herrin takes out to the circuit, as he has just done now, just leaving me, we know he is going to be fast. I expect Josh Herrin to be somewhere near the front row of the grid. Not sure how much quicker than Gagne he can do, but with Loris Baz on the provisional front row with a 1:40.9, Roger, you're going to be hard pressed to bet against Josh Herrin on the form that he's in.
Yeah, and you know, last year he went on pole position and thought he could go even quicker, and that's why he was out there pushing and lost the front end in turn 8. Fast crash kind of set Josh's with that ankle injury, setting back a little bit the rest of the weekend and for the year as well. But going out and just trying to take a look at things and watch the monitor, and you know, the guys have the plan. Cam Peterson now 40.6, quickest lap of the weekend so far, almost a second quicker than they went this morning.
Cameron Peterson did lead the practice session this morning as well, so we were expecting to see him right up there at the top of the charts once we did get to qualifying, and he's proven that was the case.
And for Cam, he's talking about you know, just how this year he's riding better than he ever has, and it's definitely showing in his riding. And we talk a lot about guys being consistent, and Cam Peterson has definitely showed that this year. He's made some mistakes that he has admitted, and you know, he's really reached a point where those mistakes are really kind of haunting him a little bit, where he's like, I cannot make those no more. But for Cam Peterson, he's riding so good.
As you now see Bobby Fong, who is on a lap that is improving on his personal best. He's gone yellow in the first 2 sectors. You also saw him make that pass around Cameron Beaubier and get some clear track in front of him.
Yeah, and that pass kind of put him off the line just a little bit. But for Bobby, he looks like he's just out there. He's not top of the board, but right now he's just putting out a lot of really good, consistent laps. We'll see what he does this time. He moves up to 4th with the 41-0. So for Bobby, not top of the board, but he's consistently putting in some really good laps. And, having that traction control issue this morning, you lose a lot of time on the Superbike at a tight technical track. And, when you lose that time, you lose the opportunity to get the bike set up with the electronics in other areas, really control and things like that.
Interestingly as well, just watching on the screens down here, that Bobby Fong improved up into 4th position. One rider that did not pit was Cam Beaubier, Roger. Now, we know from speaking to him on the preview show this morning, again, for the viewers that are just tuning in, you can go back and watch that as Bobby just sits out of it. You're going to see Cam Beaubier just go through on the inside, one of the Ducatis there as well. Interesting for me that Beaubier has been able, Roger, to put together quite a few laps, despite the fact that he's walking around like Willy Wonka with his little cane in the paddock. But the effort and the physical effort, as we pick up with him here, coming through the far part of the circuit, this is a pretty superhuman effort from Cam Beaubier. We know he's tough, but this is impressive.
Yeah, and a broken heel is really hard to come back from. I mean, that's a lot of guys are out. I mean, I thought it'd be a couple, maybe Laguna. I was hoping to see Cam back, but I think when you watch the way Road America shook out, then we went to Brainerd, seeing how that played out and left there, and realized, man, I'm still in this title fight. I got to. I think if somebody really gained a lot of points on him, he might wait till he got back into a little bit more healthy. But for Cam Beaubier, he was the man to beat early on in this year. So if he can just kind of keep himself in that battle, and we see how competitive Superbike is this year. So, I mean, the guys that win in these races are up there in front of them in points. They could have a bad weekend, with how competitive the class is. We see Josh Herron getting his lap in now. Moves up to 3rd right away, right there behind Cam Beaubier. The big test, though, is gonna be the races and that heel. And you talk about, see this corner here, changing directions. You see the weight they're putting on their legs when they're changing directions like that. You kind of lifting your body from one side of the bike to the other with a broken heel that's only a couple weeks ago. It's going to be tough throughout the race.
You see Josh Herron on the screen. He's already up to 3rd after just 2 timed laps. A 1:40.8 was the time that Josh put in on his 2nd lap. To go back to your point about Beaubier and how difficult the race is going to be, you look at the scoring pylon and you're like, okay, well, there's only 15 bikes that are out there. Well, once the Superbike Cup riders also join in, there will be 34 bikes that will be out on the grid. And for Cameron Beaubier, you only get points if you're within those top 15. And right now, okay, he's mid-ish pack sitting in 6th, but for him, he knows how physical it's going to be, and he's going to have to just be able to hold on and get as many of those points as possible.
And I think for Cam Beaubier, if he really didn't think he had the chance to come in here and get a lot of points and get himself in the title fight, I don't think he would have came to collect a couple points. But we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I mean, I know a lot of people know about injuries and things like that, but a broken heel, I definitely didn't think he would be back as quick. But it just shows you, when a guy like Cam Beaubier is in shape and to take care of themselves, that's another reason why it's really important to be in shape and take care of yourself. So if you do have an injury or anything like that, your body's going to heal a little bit quicker as well.
You see Bobby Fong improving to a 1:40.9. For Bobby, still sitting in the 4th position, but he's still able to find some more speed. We have over 27 minutes still to go in this first qualifying session as Cameron Beaubier is now coming down pit lane to get that bike back to the team. And when you see Cam walking around, he's doing it with a cane. Walking is not easy for him, but he did say this morning that, I feel like I'm able to ride. And he said he's not going to push it, but if he can get through here, if he can get through Laguna, that's in just 2 weeks, then he has about a month off, and then he can further recover to really go for it at the end of this championship season.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, too, to see how he feels in the morning after a day of riding and practice and qualifying. And I'm sure him and his team is probably managing his laps where he doesn't overdo it. But, you know, for him, just try to come here this weekend and see if he can't, you know, if a couple guys in front of him make a mistake and he just finishes, he's going to put himself in the points. And early in the year, we talked about how fast he was. He was the guy to beat. We see Josh Herring now on a really good lap. We see that second sector pop up there. Lost a little bit, but still a good lap for Josh. Did you hear the tire?
You can hear everything.
It's the only corner you hear that happen on the whole series. It's pretty cool to hear.
It's great audio. You can also hear the difference when we lay out and let the microphones pick up the bike noise. You can hear how different the bikes sound also. So we continue to watch Josh Herring. He improved to a 1:40.6, moving himself up to the provisional second place position right behind Cameron Peterson. Let's go ahead and go back down to pit lane to Michael Hill.
Well, a little over 25 minutes left in the session. I'm not sure whether we'll get a word with Cam. We got to talk really quickly. I don't want to just interrupt, but we spoke to you this morning in our preview show. We weren't sure, firstly, whether you'd be physically able to ride, but I mean, not only able to ride, but you're competitive. How was it feeling out there?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it's good just to know I can ride after first practice this morning, because I was pretty skeptical all week. But yeah, I mean, definitely dealing with some pain, but it's not as bad as I thought, which is good. So yeah, I mean, just trying to do our homework today and get ready for the race, and yeah, just maximize the points we can get this weekend.
Roger Hayden up in the commentary box just talking about how physically demanding this track is if you're fully fit. We know you're not fully fit. Where is the hill giving you the most problem? Is it gear change? Is it braking? A change of direction? Can you just give the viewers a bit more of an insight? Yeah,
this Ridge is one of the most physical tracks we on our calendar. So definitely the change of direction is a little tough right now. It's kind of funny because you forget how much you use your feet and how much you're constantly moving the bike with your legs and all that. So but yeah, I mean, everything's going okay so far, and yeah, just gonna keep working for tomorrow and see how it goes. It's great to see you back, Cam. We'll let you back to your debrief. I tell you what, Roger, all these guys are tough. They're all athletes, aren't they? But I tell you what he's doing is pretty impressive. I mean, if you see this guy limping around in the paddock, I mean, the fact that he can even sit on the bike, let alone ride it, let alone race it, it takes my breath away. Kudos to Cam Beaubier.
Also, adrenaline really helps, you know, when you're in pain and you don't think you can, you know, you're unsure if you can do it, but when you get out there and you start focusing on riding and your brake markers and the throttle and the bike, you kind of quit thinking about the pain as much until right now he's probably, you know, really feeling it, but he's doing his homework now and trying to get the bike a little bit better.
I also love what he said, that you forget how much you use your feet, you forget how much you use your legs, and you know, for all of these riders, that it's just so second nature to them that the injury, until he's on the bike and until he's putting himself and his body into these situations, you don't know what you're capable of.
And he also, as well, you know, he might have to change his riding style a little bit in a couple corners. Maybe not put so much weight on that hill, and maybe, you know, change the body position around a little bit, or, you know, might have to just, you know, move some things around, maybe lower a peg or raise a peg to put more weight on the other foot. There's a lot of things that he's going to have to probably try to make some adjustments to make it as easy as possible.
You see Loris Baz on that Ducati, currently sitting in 5th. His teammate Josh Herring currently sitting in 2nd. The two of them not out there together for this session, as we saw Josh Herring waiting it out just a couple of minutes and joining the mix a little bit late, but moving himself quickly up into the top, as you now see Hayden Gillum, who is currently sitting down in the ninth position.
Yeah, and Hayden this morning was 4th. That's a great opening for him. And we go back to Brainerd as well. The first day, he would have been top 4 on the Superbike class as well in the Stock 1000. So Hayden is really riding well on that Honda, and I know he's looking forward to this weekend to see where he stacks up in the Superbike class.
Well, we see Xavi Forés on the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki going out. Used tyres front and rear, still working on the setup for Xavi Forés, who of course is still deputising for the injured Richie Escalante. We send of course our best wishes to Richie. Into the pits just alongside me now comes Cameron Peterson. He is very much in the mix. Just behind him, or just on his left-hand side, also Jake Gagne. We're getting to that part of the session, aren't we, in qualifying? Just over halfway through now. It's going to be these last few little changes, and we're going to start seeing some new tyres going in very, very soon. Already some pretty quick lap times. The big question for me is how much faster can they go? Wouldn't be surprised to see some improvements from Xavi Forés as we pick up with Josh Herrin. This looks like, as Jamie already said, his first flying lap, only his second lap of the session. He fired it up with a 1:40.675. He has just been superseded by Cam Peterson by the smallest of margins, but Josh Herrin, Jamie, is responding. Are we going to see another Herrin versus Peterson fight for the win this weekend? I wouldn't bet against it.
I certainly wouldn't bet against it either. One thing we know is that Josh Herrin has plenty of fight in him, and he wants to go out there at the end of each session and be right there at the top of the time chart. So as he continues to push, you know, one of the interesting things about this session, as Michael mentioned, we're getting to that point where riders are going to start coming in and possibly putting a new tire on, as Josh Herrin goes back to the top with a 1:40.544 for Josh Herrin. Is the interesting thing about this particular qualifying session, Roger, is that we're in the afternoon, which is the time of day where they're going to have to race. So in terms of making sure that with the sun on the racetrack, you've got a bike that you can race with, this is an important qualifying session.
Yeah, it's huge. And also as well, this track, we talked about, it's hard to pass. So qualifying is, I know it's important at every race, but there's not a track that we go to where qualifying is not more important than we come here to the Ridge, because it's really, like I said, it's tight, it's technical, it's hard to pass. And down into that chicane off the start, we see problems in a lot of races. All the riders, talking about over 30 riders in a Superbike class, going to funnel into that chicane on that first lap. Everybody trying to be aggressive and gain a couple spots. The further back you are on the grid, the more you're putting yourself in risk of getting caught up in somebody else's mistake. So coming here to the Ridge, I know a lot of guys really put a little bit more focus on qualifying. They do the race a lot as well, but they know how important that qualifying is, just because this track is hard to pass, and also getting through that chicane clean off the start.
Continue to watch Josh Herrin, seeing if he has anything left in it to back up that 1:40.5 he did on the previous lap.
Josh just did some really good laps, but you know, it'll be interesting to see how many of those 140s he can do in a row. So we'll see. He did a minute 40.5, and this lap's a 43.5. So I'm sure he's gonna, as this session goes on, as you're talking about track temperature and being the same as the race, I'm sure he wants to see how many of those 40s that he can do in a row.
To 1:43 his last time by, so I'm not sure if there was some traffic or if he just wasn't quite pushing as hard as he did the lap prior, but he certainly knows that there is some speed left aboard that Ducati. As you see Loris Baz, his teammate, down there on pit lane, the team working on his bike, and he'll get back out there. We have 18.5 minutes remaining in this first qualifying session. And looking at track records, if you're just joining us in the Supersport qualifying session just before this, we did reset the track record. Matthew Skoltz now owns that, and track record here in Steel Commander Superbike belongs to Jake Gagne. Came in qualifying back in 2022 as a 1:39.1 for Jake. So Josh Herrin is at a 1:40.5, and with 18 minutes left in this session and then another qualifying session tomorrow, Roger, that track record could be in jeopardy as well.
It could, and you know, we'll see it as well as this session goes on, and toward the end when we see these guys go out there and put that one good lap in, what kind of times they can get down to, and then talk about going into that soft qualifying tire tomorrow. So it's gonna be interesting as we see Xavi Forés there. Not a great weekend at Brainerd. Tough, struggled all weekend with some things and had that crash as well. So it's good to see Xavi's in 7th right now, but he's only a second off. He's in the fight right now. So it's great to see him and that team able to get out this weekend and kind of get the momentum going in the right direction.
Yeah, the issue that Xavi Forés has had as he's in this fill-in role for Richie Escalante and able to get a taste of Superbike competition as Richie continues to recover from injury is that he's been missing a lot of laps, and that was really the problem at Brainerd, is he didn't get as much track time as what he needed. And when you look at the practice session this morning, he was able to do 17 laps. So for him to get that experience and then be out here for this qualifying session and not sitting on pit lane with any issues, it's going to help him this weekend in terms of being more in the mix.
Just getting a good rhythm and a good feel and getting confidence, you get that by doing laps. And for him, able to come out and get a lot of good laps, and then also you're able to give your crew really good information to make those setup changes. And you heard Cam Bobier and other riders talk about how physical this track is and how technical it is, and so you get those laps and you really can kind of figure things out and able to make those setup changes as well.
Xavi Flores, if you were here last year as a spectator, he did win both of the Supersport races that were here last week, and he is the reigning Supersport champion here in MotoAmerica. So it's certainly a track that he knows his way around already, so it's just about getting up to speed. Let's go back down to Michael Hill.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Just down here, actually, the attack performance team, just seeing a little bit of work going on the forearm of Cam Peterson. Jake Gagne looking probably the most relaxed that we've seen him. Certainly doesn't seem to be suffering too much at the moment with arm pump. I just kind of asked him off camera, everything okay? He said, yeah, for the most part. Interesting, though, as we watch down through the waterfall section here, Sean Dillon Kelly about to complete his lap, which has gone away from him. 3 different sectors around the circuit and 3 different riders fastest in each sector. Josh Herrin is fastest on the Ducati through sector 1. That goes through that first chicane up over the hill and then kind of over towards turn 4 and 5. Then that second sector, the middle sector, the fastest in that sector is Cameron Peterson on the Yamaha. And then interestingly, the fastest final sector, which is that last 3 or 4 corners down through the waterfall, is Cameron Bobier. And Roger, how many times have we talked about the nature of a circuit lending itself not just to riders, but particularly this year with the competitiveness of the Steel Commander Superbike, the different manufacturers. So it's Ducati fastest in sector 1, Yamaha fastest in sector 2, and interestingly for me, in kind of the tight twisty bit at the end of the lap, it's the BMW that's fastest. Not necessarily what we would have thought. Makes for good racing though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes for good racing, and also as well, you pull up those sector times there. These riders will be looking at that during the session and seeing where they're at in each sector, and whichever one they're struggling in or further down, they'll work on that a lot. We see Cam Bobier now back out after he came in, working with his crew. We've seen him with the track map, really trying to give them some detailed information to get out, and he's fastest in the last sector, but he's going to want to try to work on the first and second one. Michael's talking about the sector. Now they just entered the second sector right there as we get into this long left-hander through turn 6. You see how long that is, and through this this right-hander here. Watch the front end. You see how far the front end goes down, braking into that corner. It bottoms out. That's what makes it really tricky to get the bike set up well here at the Ridge, because you want it to have something where it won't bottom out on the brakes down into 8, but has to work well through these parts of the track as well.
See Cameron Bobier back out there after sitting out for a couple of minutes. I think it was about 5 minutes that he sat out and debriefed with his team before going back out there. 13.5 minutes now remaining in this first qualifying session for Steel Commander Superbike. If you're just joining us, Josh Herrin provisionally sitting on pole. It is a 140.5 that he has right now over Cameron Peterson, currently sitting in second with a 140.6. But still a lot of time left in another qualifying session to go tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot of time, and we've talked a lot about the track could be a little bit cooler in the morning as well. So I think track temperature right now should be perfect. It's just a really beautiful day out there in the morning. Could be cool, and the track grip could be down a little bit, but the Superbike guys do go out a little bit later than the some of the earlier classes. So right now I think the big thing is just when you go down and you look at the lap times all the way down to 7th where Xavi Flores, they're all within a second.
Extremely close competition in MotoAmerica, and really in all of the classes this season. There's no runaway in any of them just yet. I mean, certainly we mentioned Hayden Gillum, who we saw, he's out in the top 10 right now in Superbike and Stock 1000. He started off with a dominating weekend in their first race of the season, but nobody's really running away with anything. And we've been talking about the sectors. I want to take a look at this. So this is information that's available to anybody that has MotoAmerica Live Plus. And if you look at, you can pull up all of this information. This is Josh Herrin provisionally on pole compared to Cameron Peterson's best lap. You can see their best lap times, but these are the sectors that you're referring to, and you can see who's better where. All the riders get this information as well and study it overnight, Roger.
Yeah, and for Josh, you can see right there in that second sector, he's losing, a couple tenths, so he can see that and he'll work on that. And Cam Peterson, he'll look at these sector times and see that he's a couple tenths off Josh in that first sector. So, and Beaubier down in 13. Man, luckily it's a slow corner.
And the issue for Beaubier is the walking. We mentioned earlier on that he's able to ride, and he feels physically fit enough to be out there on the racetrack. But in terms of just getting around, is a challenge for him.
And picking up the bike as well. And it's downhill. He's picking the bike up toward up that hill. That turn 13, we talk about that a lot. It's just hard on the brakes, front end chattering just a little bit. He was on a good lap. He just did his personal best first sector.
You see the corner worker there to help him. Here's a replay of what happened. Oh, you can hear the scrape through those microphones that are out there around the racetrack. Here's another look at it, Roger.
Yeah, just right there at the apex, just lost the front end. Gets a little bit light, but luckily for Cam, that's probably one of the easiest crashes he's ever had. But you see right here, just this track, turn 13 here, just as he starts to go over this curb right there, it's like the rear wheel kind of went over and down he went. But, most importantly, he was up and okay. And during all the Cameron Beaubier accident there, we got Loris Baz that went to the top of the board.
Yeah, he was able to, you can see as you watch this angle again, look at his feet. See how he's able to protect his heel with the rest of his body.
Oh, yeah, you can see he's got it up right there, just making sure it doesn't hit the grass or flow through it. And it's pretty amazing that you can crash going those speeds and just automatically think about raising that leg where it doesn't get caught up in the accident. The bike doesn't look like it's tore up too bad, but for Cam and the injury, not sure he'll go back out.
He was able to get it back. The team will get to work. They'll take a good look at it, make sure that even though it didn't look like anything was amiss and it just scraped up and cosmetic looking, they're going to make sure of that. For sure, just in case before he even attempts to go back out there. You see Loris Baz, you mentioned moving to the top of the charts, a 140.0 for Loris Baz, and he's on a lap now that it was even better than that.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about being consistent, and Loris is out there getting some really, and we also talked a lot about how he's really starting to make some big strides, and this weekend leading the session and putting in these good laps is going to be a huge confidence booster for Loris.
As we continue to watch this lap, let's go down to Michael Hill, who's standing by near Cameron Beaubier.
Yeah, just saw Cameron get back down and sit over here. He's still got the helmet on, and he's basically told the team to try and get the bike fixed. The problem that he's got is that on the left-hand side, not only has he lost the gear lever, the entire footrest hanger has gone as well. So that's why when we saw him coming back in with his foot sort of hanging down, it's because there was nothing for him to hang it onto. So the entire left-hand side of the footrest hanger, the foot peg, and of course the footrest itself, the gear lever, that's all gone. So they're having to rechange it. But Beaubier has said, yeah, put a new one on, let's go again. So he looks absolutely motivated, doesn't look to be in too much discomfort, and as you can probably see down here, the team working, and in fact they've already got a new one going on right now. This is great work from the Titleist team.
Yeah, a lot of teams will already have some of those, it's a one bike rule in Superbike, so they already have, a foot peg assembly already there, and where they can just take the other one off and put it right on right away, where they don't have anybody running back to the truck looking for parts. They already have all that stuff there. If you do have a minor crash like this, and you can get things changed that's not too tore up. And so the left side of the bike, the foot peg, you can see it's off. The left clip on as well, where they're working right now. They're trying to get it off and put the other one back on. And there's not a lot of time left, 7 minutes. So the guys, he's got a great crew.
We're wondering whether or not we will see Beaubier go back out. Just take another look at this replay and what has put him in this position.
Just the bumps there. And you can see as soon as he's already raising his leg and just trying to make sure it doesn't hit the ground, and just kind of sliding through there. And he's kind of holding on to the bike as well, hoping that it doesn't flip.
It's amazing how aware riders are in those moments. And Roger, I know that that's certainly something that you know all too well, is just all of the things that, you know, they happen so fast. We're watching it in slow motion, but for a rider that's sitting on the bike that is going through that in real time, and they're able to think about and process and put all of those things into motion, protecting his heel, holding on to the bike, and that's just incredible.
Yeah, and also the mental hurdle as well as being injured, trying to work through the weekend, and then you have the crash. But for him, he's probably just trying to figure out right now, when you're sitting there trying to get back out, what did I do? Did I trail brake too long? Did I, you know, get in a couple little bit quicker than the previous lap, so you don't make that mistake again? But you can see the focus that Cam has right now this weekend, and trying to power through, and you know, it's just pretty incredible to see what he's doing, and you know, telling the guys, hey, let me get back out.
Yeah, not even taking the helmet off. He's going to be ready to go as soon as that bike is ready to get back out there. As we look back out to the racetrack, you see Bobby Fong, who is on a lap that's improving for himself, currently sitting back in 5th in this first qualifying session, coming off of back-to-back wins just 2 weeks ago back at Brainerd.
Just so impressive what the Ridge Racing guys have did this year with Bobby and Superbike and leading the points. I mean, it's just, it really is incredible. And you know, another thing I find impressive as well was the interview with the team owner Dave Anthony the other day, that they're doing a lot of the development on their own. The body work they make in-house, a lot of the other stuff there, you know, the gas tanks, how many different ones of those that they've made as well, and you know, just being able to do all that in-house has been really impressive. See Josh there pushing hard, making a little bit of a mistake. He's seen his teammate went to top of the board, and he's going to get close. And
Bobby Fong on that lap we were watching was able to improve up to 2nd place to get around him, but Josh Herron, just like that, went back up to that 2nd position. So we've got Ducati Yamaha currently making up that provisional front row, as Josh Herron now sits in 2nd, just less than 2/10 shy of his teammate Loris Baz.
Yeah, and his teammate's on a good lap as well, but Josh is kind of slowed down a little bit after he did that lap. So
he saw Josh looking over his shoulder, so he wasn't going to put another one out there. With 4 minutes remaining in this session, getting word now that Cameron Beaubier, as you see on the screen, is getting back on that bike. So the team very quickly, that whole Tytler Cycle organization, made quick work of getting that bike back into shape to be able to get him back out there in this session. And for a rider, now he doesn't have to go back to the hotel overnight and think about it constantly.
Yeah, and also too, you can go out and know that the bike there's no problems. And if there is something that maybe happened that they didn't catch when he came into pit lane, now the crew will have all night to really fix whatever that is, and you know, he'll probably try to get a good lap in, but most importantly, he'll know that that bike's back 100% going into tomorrow. It's a good lap for Bobby.
You watch Bobby come across the line. It was a 1:40.3. He was able to improve his personal best time, but not good enough to get back around Josh Herron, as the two are right there neck and neck.
We talked about the sectors a lot. We've seen Bobby when he came through the first 2 sectors, he was right on that best time, and then he ends up a couple tenths off, so he can look at that and know that that last sector is where he's losing the most amount of time. And you know, again, Bobby's out there just reeling those laps off. You know, he's not just doing one and slowing down, and that's going to be a huge bonus going into the race.
See Sean Dillon Kelly aboard the number 40. He's made his move into Superbike here this season, coming back from Moto2, and moving up in the MotoAmerica ranks up from Supersport, where we last saw him compete a couple years ago. But he's been impressive so far this season. They've certainly they've had some growing pains as well, but he's always right there.
He's been really impressive, and not only just for him, but the team as well. The top pro guys able to come into Superbike, and the job that they did, and had there's been some ups and downs, having that crash at Brainerd and some other stuff. And you come into this weekend, and Sean is struggling a little bit on Fridays, but we've kind of seen that this year. Whenever they come the first day, they kind of struggle just a little bit down the time sheets, and I think it's because they haven't been here on their Superbike before. So when they show up to these tracks, they got to work from scratch, and they got to kind of claw their way up through it. I'm sure he doesn't want to be over a second behind, but for Sean, just impressive what he's did all year, and the team as well.
You see Cameron Peterson moving back up the charts here. He's currently sitting in that 4th position. And as we are in the closing minute now of this first qualifying session, you can see that he was waiting just to the end of this session, and he's really showing that he has more pace than what is sitting in 4th.
Yeah, and he's right there behind his teammate as well, so he might back off a little bit in this sector, and see how he's got that little gap on Jake. It's going to be in a really good spot for Cam Peterson. See, kind of let him go a little bit. Now he's going to have that rabbit in front of him to try to chase down.
It was a 1:40.4 for Cameron Peterson. It was an improvement, but he was not able to move up any higher than 4th. It's Bobby Fong sitting in 3rd with Josh Herron and Loris Baz leading the way. Jake Gagne, Cam Peterson's teammate, rounding out the top 5, but they did not have to take the checkered flag, so they're still able to push on this final lap.
You can see in that first sector, we were talking about Cam Peterson being really fast there, and you see he closed down that gap right away to his teammate. And Ken Bovier went out and did just almost the same lap time before the crash. Brandon Posh looks like he's got a issue somewhere on that Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki. Doesn't look like a crash. It looks like mechanical.
He is pulled off of the racetrack, and it's at the end of the session, so he did get a lot of track time, able to stay inside of the top 12 for Brandon Posh, but there's clearly some work that's going to have to be done overnight to get him back out for that second qualifying session.
Looks like Cam Peterson found his way. Wonder if Jake probably let him by, but right now Cam's his first sector was better, but his second sector wasn't any better. So we'll see what he can do. The times are a little bit close. He might be able, if he can hold this through, he might be able to get past Bobby Fong on that provisional front row.
Bobby Fong has already taken the checkered flag, so he's not still out there putting in a lap. But 1:40.3, it was still an improvement for Cameron Peterson, but he is sitting less than 800ths behind now Bobby Fong. So it's close. The top, we have the top 4 all separated by just over 0.3 of a second. If you're with us in Supersport, we showed you some Insta 360 footage. We have some more here from Superbike. This was from this morning.
And you'll notice when we watch here on the Superbikes how fast things are going to come up for these guys, as they come through here, turns 4 and 5, that long left-hander, and you can just see how quick turn 6 comes up on these guys. Looks like he's right behind Loris Baz, so we talk about different lines there where actually Loris led him by, but the Superbike guys will drift up a little bit there, try to hit the apex down on the exit, and when you come to the ridge, these guys do not have a place to rest. The bike's always going to be on the side. Again, they go up a little bit here. This is my favorite part of the track. This right-hander is almost wide open for these guys, and it's blind from here all the way till you get to right there, and you got to have full commitment. You got to find those brake markers. One thing about this track, you'll notice it looks like a lot of guys, when they go into the corners, how wide they are, and they look like they're a little offline. But see where it puts them on the exit, where they can get that bike straight up and down as soon as possible and try to put the power down. And how slow through there. And here the RPM, how low it is through there. Such a slow corner, this long left. Here again, drifting wide, coming back down, cutting this chicane a little bit, trying to where the radar gun is, and we get to see the top speeds.
It's also a great opportunity to be able to see the dash and what it is that the rider is looking at with that footage there. Let's take a look at the results from this first qualifying session. Loris Baz, your provisional pole sitter, a 1:40.0 for him. Josh Herron, his teammate, right behind him by less than 0.2 of a second, and then Bobby Fong rounding out that front row.
Hayden Gillum there in the top 9 as well. So it's a good qualifying for him, and got a little work to do, but you know, it's a great showing for those guys there to be inside the top 9.
It's a good long session. We saw a lot of riders take advantage of all of that track time. Let's go ahead and get down to Michael Hill, who has found their Ducati riders that are both on that front row. Michael?
Yeah, it has been a great day so far for the Warhorse HSPK Ducati team. Josh Herron, Loris Baz, this bromance that these guys have got in this team. Big smiles down here. Let's talk firstly to the man that sits on provisional pole going into tomorrow, Loris Baz. And Loris, it's been a little while since you've been here, but you've certainly not forgotten your way around the ridge. Cracking lap that. Great for you and also for Josh as well. 1-2 for the team.
Yeah, that's awesome to be 1-2 for the Warhorse HSBK racing team. You know, like it's the first time they have two Superbike on track. Last race was our first double podium for Ducati for a long time, so it's just cool to see that we are improving. The team's working well. All the guys doing a great job. I started a bit slow this season, but I knew it was going to be like that. Didn't do a lot of tests, and I was also coming back from a really tough season, so it's not easy when you have to build back that confidence on the race weekend, but I took it easy, and yeah, definitely my girlfriend made it easier, like having her with me and just trying to take the time that I need to just rebuild myself. And yeah, I'm happy. This morning I didn't expect that, to be honest, because we were struggling a lot with the tire lap, but yeah, I felt good on that Ducati, and I did a lot of laps on the hard tire, and I just put the soft to see how it is. And I didn't expect to do that lap time, I just felt one of those days where it feels easier, so I just hope it feel the same tomorrow, and we can make another double podium, hopefully this one, 1-2. So just big thanks to all the guys from the team and all the sponsors.
Obviously, we've talked a lot through the season and a lot in previous years, not just here in the States, but in Europe as well. How important is it for you to have somebody like Josh alongside you, a rider that you respect, that you clearly get on with? That's clearly, obviously, making a big harmony in the team.
Well, I think that's the most important, you know, like I prefer to have no teammate than having a teammate you get not along with, because then the team is completely separate, and it's been like this in the past, and that's not nice, you know. I just like having Josh, and we just like spend good time together, like, out of the race, and then on the race we try to help each other when we can. He's been helping me a lot in early stage this season, as I said, to like just get me back into the right pace, and now like yeah, we can finally, as I'm back in the right speed since last race, compare the data and hopefully make the good work that like Jake was doing the last years, having a teammate to compare himself. So hopefully that's something we can work together to get the final target back home at the end of the season.
Okay, let's move around very quickly to get a quick word with the number 2, Josh Herron, already a winner this season, and obviously great to see you back on form. And also, as Loris said, this relationship that you two have got, it's just elevating the team. Great job for you today as well.
Yeah, thank you. It's you know, we've talked about it a bunch this year. It's been special. It's cool to have a teammate that you can get along with. Obviously, in the past, I've had great teammates, but there's a special bond between us that is good. And you know, I don't think a race win here and there, or a little bump in is going to hurt that, because we just got a good friendship, and we enjoy spending time together. So you know, it's really cool to see the Warhorse HSPK racing Ducatis 1-2 up there. I don't know. I'd have to probably at least be the Bostrom Hodgson days that a Ducati was 1-2 on the grid, but I don't even think they were then. So it'd have to, I feel like, go back to the 90s possibly to see the last time that happened. And you know, I'm going to start charging for my setup though, because I heard he had my setup today or this afternoon on the bike. But you know, we're going to go out there tomorrow and just give it our all, and hopefully we have a good day. And you know, I'm going to put a little bit of that Hawk 2 on my tire for qualifying 2 tomorrow, and hope it works.
Thanks, Josh. Roger, back to you. And as he said, it's got to be more than 10-15 years minimum. I'll try and look that up over tonight. But we could be seeing a couple of Ducatis banging bars when the lights go out tomorrow.
Yeah, both those two guys are kind of elevating each other, and you see the qualifying results. They get along well. Bobby Fong, great session for Bobby there on the provisional front row. putting in a lot of really good, solid laps there for Bobby, so he's got to be feeling pretty good. Josh Herron as well, great lap for him. Track that he loves, and then the Lord Spaz there on top.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Stock 1000 qualifying right after this.